In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my exact methodology that I used when I was a coach to close more clients and hit a 70 to 80% close rate every single time. Now, I talk a lot about business and scaling your business and how do you get out of the treadmill of just doing session after session. However, I also want to recognize that there is a very important time when you are building your business and you are like, Mandy, that's great about the scaling. I can't think about that right now. I literally am just trying to close like 3 more clients so that I can pay the bills. So in this video, we're going to walk through it together. I'm going to share step by step everything that I did. Feel free to borrow this, feel free to steal it. I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm just going to act like you're my bestie and I'm going to tell you what I did. But I am very confident in this method. I did it probably over 500 times. So I'm going to distill everything and share that with you now. Okay, so first you're going to think about your top of funnel, and this is how people hear about you, okay? If you have a small consulting business, a small coaching business, as in it's just you don't have a team of 10 people, it's just you doing the work, then I think that it's a really great place to start is just to have a very simple email newsletter. And anyone who has ever booked a session with you or anyone who has ever booked a free consultation with you gets onto this newsletter. Even if you have 100 people on this newsletter and some of them are just like people people related to the industry, potential clients, like that's a great start. You don't need to have 1,000 people on this list. I think when I was coaching, sometimes I would even just send it as a regular email and BCC everybody, like it was that few of people, okay? So in these communications, right, you're gonna have a link to your free consultation. And this is something I think it's a good practice to offer at least 2 different days of the week. So you could do like Tuesday mornings and Friday afternoons. Maybe there's 2 or 3 slots a day. You don't want to be like, here, my entire calendar is open and you can do it anytime of any day, right? But you do want to offer enough options so that when the person clicks on it, they're not like, oh, this person's booked out until January and I'm like, want to talk to them soon. So you'll use some kind of software. I've used Acuity scheduling. I've used Calendly. I mean, to me, they're kind of interchangeable. So use whatever scheduling software you want, but essentially you go in and you say, okay, I'm free Tuesdays at 10 and 11 and Fridays at 1 and 2. I want these to be 30-minute blocks. I want there to be a 15-minute break in between. Like you can decide all of this stuff in the software, okay? What the person sees is a calendar where they can go in and they can choose things. Very important is that you ask the potential client a question. You're trying to get more information about who they are, right? I try to make this intake form pretty simple. I used to ask maybe 1 or 2 questions. And because I was doing career coaching, I would be like, please also drop the link of your LinkedIn profile so I can take a look at it. Depending on what industry you're in, you just might ask for, oh, what's a link to your socials or what's a link to your portfolio or whatever service you're offering. Like if there is a relevant link for you to understand who they are and where they're coming from, great, okay? You're gonna ask them, what would you like to discuss during the session? And this has 2 purposes. One is it forces them to distill down and figure out like, what is it that I like, because a lot of times people's situations are complex, right? There's never just one thing. It's like, I have 15 things and it's all a jumble in my head. And that's precisely why I need to hire you to help me figure this out, right? But if you kind of force them or nudge them to think about it a little bit and at least write it down, it forces them to get a little more clear about what they're looking for your help for. And also it gives you a very good vibe of the person that you're about to talk to. So if they're super organized and super succinct, okay, this is probably going to be a relatively straightforward call. If they're writing paragraphs and paragraphs, I used to do a character limit because I was like, I'm not trying to read all that. If they write paragraphs and paragraphs, then like, oh, there's a lot here. And, just starting to understand, like, I may need to really time box this session. I might really need to like help them very quickly in the free consultation narrow down to one topic. I don't want to confuse them further. So maybe there's a sort of guidance of, oh, okay, I know you spoke up these 3 things. Why don't we just pick one and discuss that? Also, very important, because I just always did this based on what I would want. I'm not trying to get on a call and then be like, "Can you send me your prices?" And I'm not going to even spend my time. Time is the most precious resource. I'm not going to spend my time on a call unless I think I could afford it, or that this price is correct for me, okay, in the ballpark. So what I used to do, and every coach is different. Some people like to really gatekeep this information, but I do not. What I like to do is I like to have all of it transparent, like a menu. Like, you could go to my website and you could be like, oh, a resume is $400. Oh, a LinkedIn profile is $200. Oh, there's a bundle. I can get those 2 for $550. Oh, 1 session is this much. 3 sessions is that much. I like to have it totally clear. And in fact, oftentimes, like, let's say I get the free consultation, I would respond to the person, because also because I think a little bit of personal attention, instead of just like, oh, we're on a Zoom call now, right? I would like to email them ahead of time, a personal email, a couple sentences. Hey, just thank you again. Wanted to let you know I got this request. I'll see you on the 14th, right? And just so you can review this ahead of time, here is a list of the services I offer with a link. Okay, so they have the free consultation. They know how much it costs. What does this do? This means that 80% of the time, when they're on the call, I can't even tell you how many people have been like, I already looked at your website. I'm ready. Like, I need your help. Okay, so we're just trying to respect their time. We're trying to move the process along. I don't want to have back and forth emails with a potential client. I just want to be like, this is my offering. This is how much it costs. They say yes, we get started. Like, as little administrative back and forth as possible. For the simplicity of it as well, I also used to basically offer 2 types of services with the coaching. I would offer a single session, or I would offer a 3-session package. Once in a while, if a client really wanted it, I'd be like, great, you can get a 6-session package and we'll reduce that price even further. Okay, like long-term clients. They'd be like, oh, just sign me up for the next 6 months. And I'd be like, great, here's how much it is, da-da-da. Oh, speaking of that, another thing that I did on my website, feel free to borrow this, is I would have a section on my website called a la carte pricing, okay? And I would offer 50 different options, and it was in a drop-down menu in increments of $25 or $50. I think it was like $100, $125, $150, $175, $200. Like, I would just like list it out, okay? And then let's say there's just a one-off thing that a client wants, and they're like, oh, you already did my resume, but I also want to have an additional session. Can we just agree on this price? And I'd be like, yeah, great. That'll be $225, whatever it is. And then I'd be like, just go to my site and pick $225 from the dropdown link. Okay. Then they could just go to my site, pick $225, done and done. This lets you have sort of custom pricing for random things for ongoing clients without having to do any extra work. It's already in the drop. And trust me, there were like a couple times where I'd be like, great, that'll be $775. And then I'd like go to my fucking drop down and there would be no thing of that. And then I'd have to like type it in. And so, yeah, there's always a little bit of work like that, but I didn't mind because I was about to make $700. It was like fine, but you can totally do that as a shortcut as well. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys this story. So back in the day when I was trying to like do side hustles as I was like working on my startup and I had like no cash coming in, one of the jobs that I took was I worked for this MBA admissions company. And essentially they would hire like fresh MBA grads who were looking for side hustles, and they would pay us to work with people on their application materials if they wanted to apply to Harvard or Columbia or like any of these fancy ass schools. Okay. So as part of this, you also had to do free consultations. This was like my first taste of it. I was like 29 years old. I didn't know what I was doing. And they took us through this like training. And in one of the trainings, they had like a seasoned MBA coach like take us through the strategy for doing sales. And the guy was like, okay, so basically what you want to do is you want to compliment them, but you also want to neg them. Like you want to tell them something that is really questionable about their application. And that if like they don't work with us to fix it, it could be a huge liability. So that you were supposed to be like, okay, so the good news is that you worked in consulting and this is really strong. Like business schools love that. But there's this like big red flag, which is that you have not done enough volunteer experience or whatever you could come up with. You were supposed to point out to kind of show that, hey, we know what we're doing and we can help you stress test this and we can help you find flaws in your personality and application that might hinder you from getting into Harvard, right? Okay. I remember hearing this and being like shocked and horrified because I was like, okay, I'm sure this does work, preying on the insecurities of people who just want to better their lives. Gross. And B, I was like, I will never in my fucking life deploy this strategy. And I just like took notes. I was like, okay, like the person take note, like make them feel bad about themselves and then shame them into working with us. I was like, I don't know if that's like correct. Granted, this is one guy's opinion, and hey, if it worked for him, it worked for him. I was not about to adopt that strategy. I'm saying this. Why am I saying this? I'm sharing this with you because I want you to know that you can close these sales your way. I think that was a very masculine perspective. It is basically a page out of the remember how in the 2010s there was this whole thing about like mystery and the whole thing where you had to go up to an attractive woman. It was like the whole man culture of like how to attract women. You had to go up to an attractive woman and then like tell them something ugly about them, like, oh, like you go to up to a hot woman and you're supposed to be like, oh, had some trouble with your eyeliner today or something, and it's supposed to like increase your social value. Oh my God, die. So I was like, well, I will not be adopting that strategy. And it turns out I didn't have to because instead, and here's my advice for you, okay, take it or leave it, but instead I just actually really worked on listening to the person. What do they really want? And if they have an answer, not just taking it at face value, but being like, oh, that's interesting. You said this. Can I construe that to mean that this is important to you? And oh, well, that, you also said this other thing, which is connected. And just listening to the person and validating them and affirming like, okay, so back in the day, obviously with the MBA consulting, it's like everyone is scared as hell. They're like, am I good enough to get into B school? Can I do this, right? And so, part of my job I felt was to see the potential in people and to encourage them to be like, no, I think you can do this. Like you have greatness in your profile. Here's how I would amplify that. And here's how I could see it working. Like here's the angle that I think we could take, right? And the same thing as a career coach, I was also just looking for a way to amplify their greatness, So I would validate them and I'd be like, man, that just sounds like so hard, like what you've been through, or like, oh yeah, like that would be really tough. And just like truly find their honesty and what was real and true to them and just like mirror that back. I think that was like my whole job as a coach. Okay. The one thing I will say though, right, is we have to be really careful that people do not take advantage of our time. And so I think another thing to also sort of affirm your position of authority, because you're a coach, you're the expert, you're the consultant, you're the person who's going to offer this skill, is to like not go over the allotted time, right? And I don't care if you have nothing else going on. You literally at the 10-minute mark, at the 5-minute mark, be like, oh, okay, so just so you know, we have 10 minutes left. Like wrap it up. You know what I mean? Like, because if you just let them talk and talk and talk, well, first you're setting a precedent, which you shouldn't do if you're selling your time. You always have to be mindful of the time, and you have to be the timekeeper, and you have to train your clients that like when it's done, okay? But also I do think psychologically that enforces like, oh, this person's really busy because they're an expert and like I trust them, versus like if you're just like, I got nothing else going on. Like, no, girl, like you're very busy and you're very in demand. Okay, so how would I end the call, right? I would always say, okay, so we only have a couple minutes left. I can tell you about some of the options. Okay, so it sounds like what would be helpful is, and then you just say it, and you would say, and you like, I think it's totally fine to say the price. Okay, so I think what would be helpful is like package A, and that's $300, and what that includes is da 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 da, and then you don't like, you never want to like pressure the person, so you never want to be like, well, what do you think, right? I think you just say, so what I can do after this call is I'll just send you an email with like all the information, and then you can review it. And if you have any questions, let me know. And then there'll also be the link in there for you if you did want to move forward. That's it, okay? Now, very important, send the follow-up email same day. Has to be same day. People are busy and okay, here's the psychological thing. People are busy and they have come to you with a problem, okay, that at the time when they signed up, which could have been a week or more ago, they felt was extremely urgent. Now they've talked to you. And if you're good at your job, they probably feel a little bit better. They probably feel like, oh, I feel more reassured. I feel more confident. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I don't need to work with a coach. Maybe I don't need to hire that person. Okay, whew, well, I've got all this other shit going on, like whatever, okay? So you have to hit when the iron's hot. And this is how you have to send an email the same day. I don't even care, like, if you talk to them at 4 o'clock and you got to go pick up a kid and you can't get back to your computer until 9 p.m., like send it at 9 p.m. Like it's fine. Okay. In this one instance of closing the sale, it's fine. If you send a late email, you could even say, by the way, I know it's late, no pressure at all to respond. Okay. One trick that I used to do that like worked well, and I don't even want to call it a trick, but it's just like, it helped to accelerate the sale, because I truly believe that people are either going to buy from you or they're not. I don't even follow up. I would just literally be like, here's how much it is, here's the offer. And once I got good at it, I really wasn't even sending those, hey, just checking in to see if you've had a chance to blah, blah, blah. Like, I was like, okay, if I'm like, I've just like moved on. I've just moved on. Maybe I was secretly like, negging people and making them feel like I had forgotten, because maybe I did. But okay, so here's the thing I did. I would also put in the email, by the way, as a thank you, because I know you were referred by Sarah, or I know you were referred by Brianna, or whatever you have in common. As a thank you, because I know we're both Columbia alumni. As a thank you, because I know we're both from Portland, Oregon. Like whatever weird thing you have in common, you're gonna thank them, right? You're gonna acknowledge, like, I know that we have this little thing, okay? You can say, I'd also like to extend you a $25 off or $50 off. Like I would really never do more than probably $25, maybe $50 if it was like a really big package, whatever amount off, or 10% off, or whatever, using this coupon code. Okay, remember, accepting payment through a website. So the website you're using is going to have a coupon code, right? Using this coupon code, and it's like their name. Okay. So it's like using this coupon code, Sharon, right? And then you can, I know it's a little not great, but this definitely worked 99% of the time. If you purchase in the next 72 hours. I felt weird the first time that I put that in an email, like, cause I think you know what it is? In the very beginning, I was having to chase people, and I was having to be like, hey, just following up to see if you're still interested. And I was like sick of it. I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm great. They're great. If we can work together, great. If not, like, bye. Right. And so I just tried it once, and the sale came in immediately. People love a sale, and they hate to miss out, especially if it's an exploding offer, essentially. Right. And I was like, oh my gosh, that happened so quick. Tried it again. Immediate sale. And so I just kept doing that. Where I was just like, because here's the thing. I didn't mention during the call, and I'm going to offer you a special coupon. It just was like a little sweet bonus that I was going to give them. And I think sometimes in the email, I would even literally say, and no pressure if not, like, still happy to work with you either way. Like, I made it in a way where I was not trying to like squeeze them out of cash. It was just like, hey, if you're ready to make a decision now, and if you're ready to work together, then great, let's do this thing. Otherwise, bye. Okay. One final note that I just want to say, because I am looking out for you. I want you guys to have thriving coaching and services businesses, okay, is I'm not doing shit till I get paid. I learned the hard way, where I'd have a client where they'd be like, my paycheck is, I literally have a thread with this client who sent me an email every single week being like, okay, but I'm just getting paid on Friday. Oh, okay, I'm going to sign up Tuesday. Oh, I'm going to sign up. It's like, I don't have time for this shit. Okay. Or so from that experience, I learned, I was like, I'm actually, even though my services are a little pricey, like if you, at the height of it, if you were to do a resume and LinkedIn package, I mean, it was like $800, it was not cheap because I was working with executives, but I would be like, yeah, you have to pay the $800. I would put in the email too. We can start as soon as I receive payment. And you have my website, I'm out and about, a real person. You can come after me. I've never had an issue, right? But I'm just saying that in case you feel guilty, like, oh, but shouldn't I get like a deposit first? And then once we complete the work, no, especially if it's just for like a one-off coaching session, this is what it is, and the session isn't happening until I get payment. You know why? Because I'm not trying to chase you. I'm not trying to chase you. You get the Zoom link, you get the calendar link after payment. Okay, that is a hard rule. It has, I believe, saved me so much headache. And so that's just what I strongly encourage you to do. Now, obviously, if you are a consultant and it's more of a services deal where you're like, I'm consulting on this thing over a 3-month period, yeah, that may be more of a checkpoint. Like I get an initial deposit and then a halfway and then a final, fine. But if you're just doing one-off sessions, girl, do not do it. Do not do it until you get paid. I hope this was helpful. I know it's a little more tactical than my normal content, but I just really feel strongly because I got a comment in my YouTube where someone was like, hey, I'm early on in the process and it would be super helpful to just know, like, how did you get those first clients? And I was like, ding, ding, ding. Like I could talk about this all day. So here we are. Okay. Love you guys. I will see you soon. Bye.